What is up, ladies and gentlemen, and beautiful people of the Crasher community? How are you guys doing today? We're back with a new video on the channel. Thank you very much for tuning on in, you absolute legends. And guys, I never thought in 1.5 million years we would be discussing Adobe. And oh boy howdy, did Fit hit the shan big time. Let's get into this. Now, my interest in Adobe sprang to action when it came to this tweet right here from Sasha Yashin. It says, and I quote, "I just canceled my Adobe license after many years as a customer. The new terms give Adobe worldwide royalty-free license to reproduce, display, distribute, or do whatever they want with any content I produce using their software. This is beyond insane. No creator in their right mind can accept this. You pay a huge monthly subscription, and they want to own your content and your entire business as well. Going to have to learn some new tools." And what we have here attached to the tweet is an image that reads the following. I'm only going to point out the parts of interest here. Under the section 4.2, licenses to your content, solely for the purposes of operating or improving the services and software. You grant us a non-exclusive, worldwide, royalty-free, sub-licensable license to use, reproduce, publicly display, distribute, modify, create derivative works based on, publicly perform, and translate the content. Okay, yeah, I've got many questions about this. So first off, it sounds like that all of this is under the purpose or premise, if you will, of moderation. However, one of the very big standouts here would be the word reproduce. What does reproduction have anything to do with moderation? Not only does that seem contradictory, but that also seems very sketchy as well. I mean, if I was a user of Adobe, I would not want my content to be reproduced without my permission. And also, can we just address a big elephant in the room here? That being the fact that because you're using their services, that they suddenly own the rights to your content. So let me get this straight. So if I was to use something like Camtasia Studio, which is my current editing software, and all of a sudden, they get to use the content that I produce, does that make any sense whatsoever? Well, to any free thinker out there that has more than 2 brain cells in their head, no, it doesn't make sense. Because, get this, you could be an upcoming singer and songwriter, and you use something simple like Microsoft Word to write down some lyrics to a potential song that you're making, but because you use Microsoft Word, now they own your song for some reason, even though you're the one that created it. I don't know about y'all's, but that would not sit well with me. Now I want to highlight this in case anyone happens to have, we'll say, a different point of view on this. We have ourselves DJ Particle saying, also in the terms, Adobe only accesses stuff you upload to their cloud. And the reason I point that tweet out is because of this tweet right here from this Twitter user. This is simply not true. Please don't. Acrobat has an AI assistant that will upload the PDF to Adobe servers for processing without even warning the user or if the user uses cloud services. So that is a very big thing right here when it comes to substantiating why this is an issue and why people are having a massive amount of pushback against Adobe. Because even without your knowledge, your content is going to go on the cloud, therefore it's going to be accessible to Adobe themselves, and Lord only knows what they are going to do with it. I also want to highlight this tweet from Bob Loblaw, who says, "It is to get ahead of the lawsuits due to the AI-generated content. In their clarification, given the explosion of generative AI, AI is gonna steal from everyone, and the companies will be selling your content using these terms as cover." So, another big concern involving this situation revolves around AI. Now, Adobe did make a clarification post, and one of the things I really want to highlight here is under the section of Adobe's continued commitments. Adobe does not train Firefly Gen AI models on customer content. Firefly generative AI models are trained on a dataset of licensed content such as Adobe stock and public domain content where copyright has expired. Adobe will never assume ownership of a customer's work. Adobe hosts content to enable customers to use our applications and services. Customers own their content, and Adobe does not assume any ownership of customer work. Now, this right here is completely up to your own interpretation as to how you want to take it, if you want to believe their word or not. However, a big thing that is peaked from this here is whether or not their original new update is now applicable when it comes to their clarification. Let me explain. So going back to Sasha's tweet right here, where we have ourselves the highlighted section, which I've read previously, and then contrast that with their clarification. What are we to believe here? Like, did they make their clarification with a genuine oversight in regards to the updated terms of service that they put out previously? Or was this an attempt to rush out clarification to try and calm down the outrage, but not really thinking things through? Because the two instances here really don't add up. They contradict each other. Now, another issue that springs to mind actually originates from this tweet from KB. This makes it to where most businesses will not legally be able to use the software, as this is in direct conflict with their customer agreements. And this right here can snowball into some very, very massive issues. And why do I say that? Well, let's just rattle off some examples from the top of our head that are highly confidential that could have very big consequences if this goes any further. How about information revolving around the military? How about information revolving around hospital documentation, so patient records, etc.? How about government information? And the reason I bring all of that up is because what if they end up using Adobe and we end up having a data breach of some sorts? And why do I say that? Well, check this out. So if we're not talking about bad changes to their terms of service, if we're not talking about clarification that contradicts said changes in terms of service, we have ourselves this issue right here. And while it did happen back in 2019, if it happened once, it can happen again. Adobe left 7.5 million Creative Cloud user records exposed online. Exposed data primarily includes emails, but not passwords or financial information. The basic customer details of nearly 7.5 million Adobe Creative Cloud users were exposed on the internet inside an Elasticsearch database that was left connected online without a password. The exposed details primarily include information about customer accounts, but not passwords or financial information. Exposed user details included email addresses, Adobe member IDs, in brackets usernames, country of origin, and what Adobe products they were using. Other information also included account creation date, the last date of their login, whether the account belonged to an Adobe employee, and subscription and payment status. This data was found last week on Saturday, October 19th, by security researcher Bob Diachenko from Security Discovery and Paul Bischoff, a tech journalist for Compare Tech. The two notified Adobe's security team, who secured the server on the same day. Diachenko and Bischoff lauded Adobe for their quick response and admitted that the data leak was not as severe as other leaks they've found in the past at other companies, as it did not contain passwords, payment data, or even something as basic as customer names. Spear phishing warning. However, it is unclear if someone else also accessed this database and downloaded its content. The data inside could be used to send spam to users who had their email addresses exposed. Specifically, hackers could target owners of active Adobe Premium accounts with phishing emails to hijack high-value Creative Cloud accounts from owners, which they can later resell online on specialized dark web markets. For its part, Adobe admitted to the leaky server in a blog post last night, Friday, October 25th. The cloud-based software company blamed the incident on a misconfiguration to one of its prototype environments that led to the server becoming exposed on the internet. This leak is nowhere as severe as the infamous 2013 Adobe breach, where hackers obtained full records, including encrypted payment details for nearly 38 million Adobe users. at the time, the Adobe breach was one of the biggest hacks ever. Okay, so turns out this isn't the first time that this has happened to Adobe. Now, while nothing super substantial and consequential got leaked in terms of the 2019 hack, things could have been a lot worse and more disastrous. Such as, for example, the 2013 Adobe breach, nearly 38 million users being impacted and having actual sensitive information being revealed. That right there is a big time oof. Now again, it's completely up to your own interpretation and your own devices as to whether or not you want to continue to use Adobe and support them, but this video is to bring some much needed information and attention to light in regards to Adobe and the possibility that you might not exactly be 100% safe when it comes to using their services. Whether it's your content being reproduced as well as being put on the cloud, to which you did not want that to happen, to you just straight up not having sole rights to the content that you produce. Even though you're using their services, it's your content, but because you're using their services, they feel the need, oh, well, you know what? Let's go ahead and let's make it our own, even though we didn't create it in the first place. Now again, going back to the clarification, this right here is, like I said, it's contrary to what they put out in their terms of service. So again, it's up to your own interpretation and devices as to how you want to take this. But anyways, ladies and gentlemen, these right here are just my own takes, opinions, and analysis on the subject discussed. What are your guys' thoughts and opinions about what we discussed here in today's video? Do you agree with my takes? Do you disagree with my takes? And what are your thoughts overall when it comes to what we talked about here? Whatever your thoughts and opinions happen to be, ladies and gentlemen, I always love to hear back from you guys in the comments down below. And that's it for the video, ladies and gentlemen. So I want to say thank you guys very much for watching. Thank you for your time as well in viewing this video. Have yourself a damn good one, you beautiful people. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and remember to always stay humble. I'll see you guys next time.
Say his name and he appears. I believe in Joe Hendry.